What's going on YouTube? Now it would certainly be an understatement to say that Subaru has been on a roll recently, since sales have been growing or at least holding steady even through the challenging pandemic years. Forester and Outback are of course two of their most important products, and these recently refreshed models continue to overlap a lot in terms of size and price. That had us and a lot of customers thinking, which is the best bet? Well, that's what we're about to find out. Alright, so kicking things off here, we have to talk about the pricing to demonstrate just how similar they are in this regard. Starting with the Forester, we selected the top trim level called Touring. Obviously, every Subaru has standard all-wheel drive, so after factoring in a small selection of accessories and the destination charge, the total price is $39,241. Now like I said, the prices overlap a lot, though the Outback is considered the more premium product. Because of this, you will have to drop down one trim on the Outback to make it cost the same as the Forester. In this case, that would be the limited trim. With a few options and the same destination charge, the total is within spitting distance of the Forester, at $39,610. Now this is going to be an objective comparison. We have done our best to weigh the points awarded throughout in major and minor categories. But at the end of the comparison, we will sum up with our thoughts and discuss overall value. But with that being said, let's get into the meat and potatoes. So in terms of the exterior designs and features, as you would expect, they do share quite a bit in design language, if not overall shape. Obviously, the Outback has always kind of been a wagon on stilts, while the Forester has the more traditional crossover shape to it. The Outback also looks more rugged, with chunky black cladding all around, especially in the front. We've heard a lot of comments about this, and while we're not going to grade subjective looks, keep this in mind if you have strong cladding opinions. Lighting-wise, both have adaptive LED headlights with LED fog lamps. From the side, you can really see the overall shapes very clearly, as well as the fact that they both have really good ground clearances of 8.7 inches and 18-inch alloy wheels. The Outback is about 9 inches longer than the Forester, but you'll definitely want to stick around for the interior space comparison coming up, since it is pretty surprising. And then around back, they are mostly the same, with LED brake lights, small spoilers up top, and exposed wipers. The Touring Forester does come with an exposed chrome exhaust tip. Now let's check out some of the individual features. Both sets of mirrors have heating and blind spot monitoring, and auto dimming is an option on both of them, but the Forester has it equipped. However, the entire Subaru brand puts an emphasis on safety, which is why both of them have automatic forward and rear emergency braking, lane keeping assist, adaptive cruise control, and auto high beam headlights. Finally, the last thing to mention on the outside is that the Outback can tow larger loads up to 2,700 pounds, as compared to 1,500 in the Forester. So that's it for the exteriors. So now let's go ahead and check out the equally important cabins. But first,
if you're new here, we're brothers, and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We may be young, but we love cars.
And we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family. Let's learn a lot, have some fun with all the latest cars.
Now, as you would expect, there are going to be a lot of similarities inside as well, since they are sibling vehicles. For instance, both have the same key fob and smart entry systems. And peeking inside, we see a lot of similar characteristics, but different details. Starting with the seats, besides for the obvious color differences, they are mostly the same shape, have heating and memory functions. Just be aware of two things. The Outback has 4-way lumbar as opposed to 2 in the Forester, and only the Outback has the option of ventilated seats on the top trim. A major point category in our comparisons is the interior material quality, but these two are almost exactly the same. Both have very nice door trims, soft touch upper dashboards, and leatherette covered lower areas as well. Everything is also put together in a nice solid way in both. As far as the gauges, they are pretty much the same, with 4.2-inch displays. They both also have helper displays, the Forester having a separated one on top of the dash, and the Outback integrated into the large main display, which we will talk more about later. Next up, we have the very important aspect of storage, where surprisingly, the larger Outback does not have an advantage. As a matter of fact, the Forester has the larger center console and front storage bin, while the Outback cancels that out with its passenger storage shelf. Coming to the shifter area, they are identical with paddles and active trajectory. Both have the option of getting a front-facing camera as well for off-roading. But this is where the similarities start to disappear, since we get into the Outback's display area. Its climate controls are part of the screen, although the main temperature adjustments do have dedicated buttons. Where the Outback is superior is that it has an extra zone of adjustability. As far as the audio systems, they are Harman Kardons, except that the Outback has more speakers. Let's take a sample. And now that brings us to the major tech differences. It pretty much goes without saying that the Outback's 11.6-inch display is significantly larger than the Forester's 8-inch one, and that it does have big benefits in the amount of information that can be displayed at once. Most of the other software is the same, but only the Outback can run Apple CarPlay and Android Auto wirelessly. Finally, the last thing to mention is a cool advantage for the Forester. It has a panoramic moonroof, while the Outback only offers a conventional one. So, heading to the back, just in case you still don't believe me about how similar these two are, look no further than the rear seat measurements. There are only fractions of an inch separating them, and both feel extremely spacious for an average-sized adult. Once inside, in terms of amenities, both have 2 charging USB ports, rear vents, and heated rear seats. Moving around to the back, both models have power tailgates. And once they open up, again you'll find very similar measurements. With the seats upright, the Outback has about 11% more cargo capacity. But after you use the convenient handles in the back to fold the seats down, the Forester's more conventional shape catches up to under a 2% difference. That's very interesting considering the 9-inch size gap between them. Both have spare tires. Now we've checked out the exteriors and the interiors, so that means it's time to take this bite out to the streets. As you've seen up to this point, these two crossovers have a lot of similarities, and that continues here under the hood. Both have the exact same engine, a 2.5-liter naturally aspirated Boxer 4, making 182 horsepower and 176 pound-feet of torque, paired to standard symmetric all-wheel drive and a continuously variable transmission. As you'd expect, this produces very similar experiences when accelerating. Alright, there is an acceleration up to about 60 miles per hour in the 2023 Forester. Now, like we mentioned at the spec dump, no changes to the engine configuration this year. So you still have the 2.5-liter Boxer 4. No upgraded engine options in terms of things that offer more power, but it continues to have class competitive power figures. Alright, so there we are, accelerating up to about 60 miles per hour with the 2024 Subaru Outback. Like we mentioned at the spec dump, you've got 2 different powertrains. Most people are going to choose what we have today. This is the standard 2.5-liter Boxer 4-cylinder engine. To remind you, 182 horsepower, 176 pound-feet of torque. One important factor to mention is that the Outback can be equipped with a more powerful turbocharged engine, which is something that the Forester cannot add. If you want a little extra jolt of speed, then you should certainly look at upgrading to an XT model. That's going to give you that 2.4-liter turbocharged boxer 4-cylinder engine. A good power boost, like I was mentioning, is about 80 horsepower, I believe. Ride and handling-wise, they are again quite similar. Neither was designed to be sporty, but they do have decent body control and steering that is light but accurate. All but the largest imperfections in the road are isolated out, and the seats are very comfortable.
And now that we're cruising along, kind of getting into the open stretch of highway, I do want to talk about your ride quality for this Subaru Forester. Now, of course, we're in the touring trim level. The touring trim level is, of course, going to focus on that luxury side of things, and I'm very impressed with the ride quality. Now, most of the vehicles in this segment do ride really well because they're all family-focused. I wouldn't say that this is really any different than most in the segment, but it is certainly a good ride quality. When you hit a bump, it soaks it up well, and I will say that these seats are some of the most comfortable seats I've sat in the entire segment. I love the seats on this touring trim level. I've always been very impressed with the ride quality. That, of course, continues for 2024. This Outback is incredibly comfortable. I have no complaints whatsoever when it comes to the ride quality. The seats are incredible. It's just a very good place to spend time for you and your family, so you're going to be in a lot of comfort on your way to that off-road adventure.
If you're getting the impression that they drive very similarly to each other, you'd be right. But there is some level of difference between the two in the sound level readings we captured on the exact same road. At 55 miles per hour, the Forester Touring was showing 2 decibels less noise. That could be due to the lower profile roof rails.
Let's go ahead and get our sound level reading going 55 miles an hour. Very solid. 55.7 decibels. Looks like we've officially settled in at 57.1 decibels.
And finally, in regard to fuel economy, the Forester gets 1 mpg combined better according to the EPA, although that is less than a 5% difference required to score a point.
So there you have it. We basically have a tie. This is hardly surprising since the two models are surprisingly similar once you get past the exterior differences. But let's go ahead and find your winner. Well, why would you get a Forester? Well, first off, you'll save a few bucks. As equipped, that's going to be $369 on this model.
Not much.
Not much, but, you know, money is money. Prefer the traditional shape, and you also prefer having a more traditional interior, including especially things like your climate controls not being in a display.
Now, why might you buy this Subaru Outback? Well, because you like that station wagon shape. The Outback has a very signature look. It's looked the same for a long time. If you like the way that looks, then that would be your choice. Also, it's going to have better technology. That big center screen that has a lot more capability, wireless CarPlay, wireless Android Auto. Additionally, it does have a few extra bougie features like ventilated seats offered on the touring trim level of that. So if you want those extra luxury goodies, the Outback is going to be your choice as well. But guys, that's going to wrap up this comparison video between the Subaru Forester and Outback. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, we would really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button down below. By subscribing, you help us to make more automotive content like this, including these comparison videos, as well as some of our signature full reviews, as well as auto show content. Thanks so much for watching, and if you're a loyal subscriber, thank you for your continued support. We'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.